She never thought leaving would be harder than staying. Every night she asked herself the same question. If I walk away, will my children survive? She had no money, no plan, and nowhere to go. Just two kids holding her hands and trusting her completely. People told her to stay. They said think about the children. But what they did not see was fear becoming normal inside that house. One night she made a choice that changed everything. She walked out with one bag and two sleeping dreams. The days that followed were filled with doubt, hunger, and exhaustion. But something unexpected happened. Her children started sleeping peacefully. They started smiling again. And she realized leaving was not breaking her family. It was saving it. This is the true story of a woman who escaped domestic abuse and built a life she once believed was impossible. She did not wake up that morning knowing her life would change. She woke up like she always did before the sun came up. The house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that made her nervous. She lay still for a moment, listening, trying to understand what kind of day it would be, because in her world every day depended on someone else's mood. When she finally got up, she moved softly, as if the floor itself might betray her. She went to the small bedroom where her two children slept, one curled up with a blanket pulled over his head, the other hugging a worn-out stuffed toy. She watched them for a moment, their faces calm, their breathing slow. This was the only time she felt peace. She brushed her daughter's hair gently, trying not to wake her. She packed lunches with what little food they had. She tied shoelaces, wiped faces, forced a smile. Her children did not know why their mother always looked tired. They did not know why she jumped at sudden sounds. They did not know why home did not feel safe. Once she had dreamed of a simple life, a home filled with laughter, a partner who cared, a future that felt warm. But dreams do not always survive reality. At first it was small things, words that hurt, rules that did not make sense, control disguised as concern. Slowly her world became smaller. Friends disappeared. Family calls stopped. Her confidence faded. She was told what to wear, where to go, when to speak, when to stay silent. She learned to apologize even when she did nothing wrong. She learned to stay quiet even when her heart screamed. People ask why women stay. They never ask what it takes to leave. She stayed because she believed the promises. She stayed because she hoped things would change. She stayed because she was afraid. But most of all, she stayed for her children. Every night after they fell asleep, she sat alone, thinking, questioning, blaming herself. She wondered when she had lost herself. She wondered if this was all life had for her. Sometimes she imagined leaving, but fear stopped her. Fear of being alone, fear of failing, fear of not being enough. She had no money of her own, no plan, no place to go. She was told again and again that she could not survive without him, that no one would help her, that the world was cruel to women like her. She believed it, because fear has a way of sounding like truth. Days turned into months, months into years. Her children grew older, and she noticed something that terrified her. They were changing. They became quieter, more careful. They learned to read moods just like she did. One night her son asked a question she was not ready for. Why are you always sad? She did not know how to answer. That night she did not sleep. She lay awake listening to the sounds of the house, thinking about the future, and for the first time, she did not imagine things getting better. She imagined her children growing up afraid, learning the same patterns, accepting the same pain. That thought broke something inside her. She realized something painful. Staying was not protecting them. It was teaching them fear. She did not feel brave. She felt sick with fear. But something inside her whispered, if not now, then when? She waited until the house was quiet, until her children were asleep. Her hands shook as she packed a small bag, clothes, documents, a photograph, a favorite toy. She stood at the door for a long moment, her heart pounding, her mind racing. She was leaving behind everything she knew, even if it was broken. It was familiar. Stepping into the unknown felt terrifying, but she thought of her children, sleeping peacefully, and she opened the door. The night air felt cold, but it also felt free. Every step away from that house felt unreal, as if she might wake up at any moment. She did not know where she was going. She only knew she could not stay. The first night was the hardest. A borrowed couch, dim light, strange sounds. She held her children close, promising them things she was not sure she could give. Safety, stability, a better life. They trusted her completely. That trust became her strength. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty. She searched for help. She asked questions she never thought she would ask. Some doors closed. Some people turned away. But one door opened. A shelter. Not perfect, not comfortable, but safe. For the first time in years, she slept without fear. She woke up exhausted but alive. She began working any job she could find. Cleaning, serving, lifting, standing for hours. Her body ached. Her heart ached more. Some nights she cried silently, so her children would not hear. She wondered if she had made a mistake. She wondered if she was strong enough. But every morning she saw something new. Her children smiling, laughing, sleeping peacefully. Slowly she started believing she might survive. She learned how to ask for help. She learned how to speak speak again. She learned that her voice mattered. The world was still hard, but it was no longer dangerous. She was still afraid, but she was moving forward, and without realizing it, she was becoming someone new. Not because life was easy, but because she refused to give up. This was not the end of her story. It was only the beginning. After leaving the shelter, she entered a phase of life where every single day felt like a test of endurance. She woke up before dawn, prepared her children for school, and walked miles to work. Because transportation costs money, she did not have. She cleaned offices, washed dishes, and took extra shifts. Whenever someone called, her body was constantly tired, but her mind stayed alert. Because failure was not an option, she reminded herself daily that giving up was not allowed, because 2 lives depended on her strength. Sometimes she felt invisible, standing among people who did not know her story, who did not know how much courage it took for her just to stand there smiling and working. She learned how to stretch every dollar, how to buy the cheapest groceries, how to turn small meals into comfort. She learned how to listen carefully to advice from strangers who offered help without judgment. She learned how to fill out forms, ask questions, and stand in lines without feeling ashamed. Every rejection letter hurt, every closed door felt personal, but she kept going because stopping meant returning to fear. Her children started to change in small but beautiful ways. They slept through the night, they laughed without checking her face first, they talked about school and friends without hesitation. She noticed their shoulders relax and their voices grow stronger, and those changes told her she had made the right choice. Even on days when she doubted herself, she slowly built routines that felt like stability: homework at the table, bedtime stories, whispered prayers before sleep. She promised herself that no matter how hard life became, her children would never feel unsafe again. There were moments when memories tried to pull her back, moments when fear returned without warning, but she learned how to breathe through it, how to ground herself in the present, how to remind herself that the danger was behind her, not ahead of her. She began to see herself differently, not as a victim, but as a survivor, not as someone broken, but as someone rebuilding piece by piece. She started saving small amounts of money, dreaming quietly of a place to call her own. She imagined a home filled with calm, where doors closed softly and voices never rose. She imagined mornings without fear and nights without tears. And for the first time, those dreams felt possible, because she was no longer waiting for someone to save her. She was saving herself every single day. As time passed, her efforts slowly began to show results. She was offered a slightly better job with steady hours and predictable pay, and although the work was still hard, it came with dignity and the feeling of being trusted. She learned new skills, asked questions, and surprised herself with how quickly she adapted. She stopped apologizing for existing and started speaking with quiet confidence. She began to understand that independence was not loud or dramatic, it was built in silence through consistency and courage. Her children continued to heal in ways she never expected. Their teachers noticed improvements, their smiles became natural, their laughter no longer stopped. Suddenly they invited friends over and filled small spaces with joy. She watched them grow and felt both pride and responsibility, knowing her choices were shaping their future. There were setbacks, of course, unexpected bills, moments of fear, nights when exhaustion pressed heavily on her chest, but she did not crumble like before. Instead, she paused, breathed, and kept moving forward. She found strength in routine, in small wins, in mornings that started without dread. She started attending support meetings, listening to stories that sounded like her own, and for the first time she did not feel alone. She realized that her pain did not make her weak, it connected her to others who understood survival. She learned about boundaries, about self-respect, about the importance of saying no without guilt. She learned that love was not control and safety did not require silence. Months turned into years, and eventually she saved enough to rent a small apartment. It was modest, but it was hers. The keys felt heavy in her hand, not with fear, but with meaning. She unlocked the door and stood still, letting the moment sink in. This space belonged to peace. She let her children choose where to place their things and watched their excitement fill the rooms. That night they sat on the floor eating simple food, laughing freely, and in that moment she knew she had crossed a line she could never be pushed back across. She had built a life not perfect, not easy, but honest. She looked at her reflection one evening and barely recognized the woman staring back, not because she was someone else, but because she had finally returned to herself, stronger, quieter, and unbreakable. With time, her new life settled into something that finally felt real. She woke up each morning without fear and prepared breakfast while sunlight filled the kitchen. Her children talked freely about their dreams, their worries, and their plans, and she listened, knowing this openness was something she once thought impossible. She continued working steadily, earning respect from co-workers and supervisors who saw her reliability and strength. She began setting goals, small at first, then bigger, goals that once would have felt unreachable. She opened a savings account, planned for education, and imagined a future where choices were made from hope, not survival. She taught her children lessons She had learned the hard way that love should never hurt, that voices can be raised to be heard, not to control, and that walking away from harm is not failure, but wisdom. There were days when memories returned unexpectedly, a sound, a smell, a familiar tone would tighten her chest, but she no longer froze. She acknowledged the past without letting it define her. She sought healing through counseling, through writing, through long walks where she reminded herself how far she had come. She began helping other women, quietly sharing resources, listening without judgment, offering reassurance that change was possible even when it felt terrifying. She did not call herself brave, but others did, and slowly she accepted that courage does not always roar, sometimes it whispers. Keep going, and she did. She celebrated milestones, birthdays, promotions, school achievements, and peaceful nights that once felt like luxuries. She created traditions, simple ones, movie nights, shared meals, bedtime conversations that built trust and connection. Years later, when someone asked how she did it, she paused, because the answer was not simple. She did it scared, she did it tired, she did it doubting herself, but she did it anyway. Because love for her children was stronger than fear, and belief in a better life grew with every step forward. Today she stands grounded in a life she built with her own hands, knowing she is no longer defined by what she escaped, but by what she created, and her story lives quietly as proof that even after darkness a woman can choose safety, choose dignity, and choose a future where strength is not demanded but discovered. In the quiet years that followed, she measured success differently than before, not by applause or recognition, but by peace, by the steady rhythm of ordinary days, and by the way her children grew into themselves with confidence and kindness. She watched them learn who they were without fear, shaping their opinions, laughing loudly, disagreeing safely, and returning to calm. She noticed how her own body unlearned survival, how her shoulders softened, how sleep came easier, how laughter returned naturally. She invested time in learning, managing finances, building credit, planning education, and setting long-term goals that once felt unreachable. She accepted that healing was not linear, that some days were heavy without clear reasons, yet she trusted herself to carry those days and keep moving forward. She created a support circle, chosen family, co-workers, neighbors, mentors, people who respected boundaries and offered consistency. She gave herself permission to rest without guilt and to say no without explanation. She learned that strength included gentleness toward herself. She continued helping others, not as a rescuer, but as a witness, reminding women that their fear made sense and their hope mattered. She encouraged practical steps, safety planning, documentation, education, community, because empowerment lived in action. She celebrated quiet victories, a paid bill, a completed class, a calm conversation, a conflict resolved with respect. She reframed mistakes as lessons and setbacks as pauses, not endings. She taught her children resilience through honesty, explaining that life could be hard without being cruel, and that love should always feel safe. She modeled accountability, empathy, and self-respect, showing them that growth came from reflection, not punishment. Seasons changed, and with them her understanding of happiness, which became simpler and deeper. A warm home, shared meals, mutual trust, and the freedom to choose. She recognized that her past did not disappear, but it no longer ruled her present. It became context, not destiny. She honored the woman she once was for surviving and thanked the woman she became for rebuilding. When asked to define bravery, she said it was choosing tomorrow when yesterday hurt, choosing care when chaos was familiar, and choosing self-worth when doubt was loud. Her life stood as quiet evidence that leaving was not the end, but the beginning of authorship, of writing a story where safety led and dignity followed. And in this story, she did not erase pain, she transformed it into purpose, ensuring that the legacy she passed forward was not fear, but courage, not silence, but voice, not survival alone, but a life fully lived.